When I was going to see this movie, I was honestly stuck in my mind debating see it in IMAX or not see it in IMAX, see it in IMAX or not see it in IMAX. But I mean, it's a disaster film. That's why I was constantly, nitpicking here because it's like, come on, it's a disaster movie. You gotta get those thrills from IMAX. And I was like, eventually, I caved in, went to see it in IMAX. Although, didn't actually get the thrills that I was expecting from this movie, but still was a really good movie to watch. Don't regret going to see it there. So Twisters is the standalone sequel that has finally been released after 30 years of waiting to the 1996 movie Twister that starred Bill Paxton. May he rest in peace. I actually didn't realize this until like close to time when it came out, but this is a big moment because Twister was pretty much the movie that sparked the disaster genre. I mean, look at all the films that came up after Twister. Pretty much a lot of them were disaster films. Here's just a few of them right here. Honestly, Get Me on a Good Day, and I will watch The Perfect Storm. I don't care how many times I've seen that movie, I will watch it because that's probably one of my favorite disaster movies. Honestly, all I really expected from this movie was just to be a fun disaster flick. Just like the first movie, of course, our main cast are storm chasers of some kind, and they're chasing after tornadoes in some state in Tornado Alley. This one, Oklahoma, though I don't recall which state it was in the original Twister. Like I said, this movie is pretty much, the same thing as Twister. It's pretty much that's what it is. A throwback to the 1996 movie. But at the same time, nostalgia is not what it relies on. It pretty much is a movie in itself. So, I mean, you didn't even have to watch, the original Twister in order to watch this movie. You could watch this movie and still be fine and then go back and watch Twister later. Still would have been good, still would have made sense. The main cast I thought was great, by the way. The first character I like to speak about is, of course, Daisy Edgar Jones. She is pretty much like the Bill Paxton from the original Twister movie. She has this natural gift and understands how a twister works, where it's going, what it's going to do, how strong it's going to be, and what path it's going to follow. And it gives her, I guess you can say, that leg up on other storm chasers, and she can predict these disasters. Also, props to Anthony Ramos. The last movie I saw him in was Transformers Rise of the Beast. I don't know if he's been in anything else after that, but I mean, he played a great character. He's like Daisy Edgar Jones' character's best friend since college, and he is working on trying to, get this better 3D scan of a tornado that, Dorothy couldn't do in the first movie. And, well, of course, you feel like a little chemistry is coming on here. That is until Glenn Powell shows up on screen. Honestly, I loved Glenn Powell in this movie. He was probably my favorite character. When he showed up on screen, the energy of this movie really just turned up like crazy. I mean, he is a storm chaser like, of course, our main character, but he's more into it for the thrills. He seems like he's called the Tornado Wrangler. I don't understand how that makes sense and what he does being called wrangling a tornado. But he wasn't just this, single-dimensional character just there for the thrills and, wrangling tornadoes. He actually is given depth into this, and he's not like just this dumb guy who doesn't understand how tornadoes work. He actually is a very smart guy who I believe they said he was studying meteorology in this movie. That's what his character did. But, I mean, he just really ramped up the energy of this movie, and I really loved his character. As I said also before about this movie has a lot of throwback here, although it doesn't rely heavily on nostalgia. It's just this is essentially, just Twister in 2024, not in the 90s. But, I mean, what more do you want for a Twister sequel? I mean, it's pretty much a disaster movie about storm chasers chasing after tornadoes. So, I mean, you can't really expect much from that. But there were some scenes that, of course, stuck out when it comes to nostalgia. Like, of course, there was the main scene everyone's going to be talking about when it comes to that is this scene where it was pretty much like the drive-in scene from the 1996 movie where you never see the Twister, but it's out there somewhere. And you see it for a glimpse second when lightning is crackling. And then, of course, we have a shout out to Dorothy Because, I mean, there's a moment where we see Dorothy, but it's Dorothy 5, everybody. Not 1 through 4, 5. So we got a 5th Dorothy there. Now, finally, the big question, the Twister action. Was it good? Did it live up to, like, the original film? Oh, yes, it did, even though it was scientifically, flawed. But I don't think really anybody cares because it was a disaster flick. And the point that a lot of whirls and twisters and winds everywhere with, no safety in sight. I mean, I don't think anyone cared as long as they got that action. I don't think they cared if it was scientific, what was going on in the movie was scientifically possible or not. It was sad, though, that we didn't get to see a cow fly. I wanted to see a cow fly like we did in the first movie. But, you can't always get what you want. Overall, though, this was a great disaster film and great standalone sequel to the original 90s movie. That's why I'm giving Twisters here an A-. Definitely one I'd recommend going to see in theaters, and also, if you can, seeing it in IMAX as well. Alright, well that just about wraps up this review. If you guys have seen Twisters, please comment here down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, you can check out here more on my channel, and always remember to stay epic!